Hello, welcome to another video. My name is Gentil Frédéric, and I'm from the Goma stake pool. I would like to present today about applications of the blockchain in Africa, and especially with the application on the broader concept of the prisoner's dilemma, where people are unable to choose the best outcomes given the circumstances they're in. So today's video is, of course, in replacement of weekly updates by the Goma Hub, which, as you know, with the ongoing conflict in the DRC, the team of students is not able to produce videos, so I have to fill in, and I'm not as good as Martin or Boaz. However, well, you get what you get, and I guess at least they're fine. Yeah, we did get updates from both and everyone that they're safe. And unfortunately, of course, the network does not allow them to upload videos. So welcome to this video, and as you can see from this thumbnail, we have produced a video about the impact of the blockchain versus the difficulties of reaching an optimum outcome. So I will cover today three topics, mostly about public policy and also about economic development and then private or individual enterprise. So on public policy, one of the applications could be on the aid itself. You know, many countries in Africa, many countries in developing countries have received aid. There is a problem as to why aid, people say it doesn't work. I would rather say it works, but not all of it. Not that the aid did not work, but the aid actually never reached its destination. And that's usually on purpose, as we will see. So the public policy application will be the disbursement of aid. Again, as I said, most of the time the aid does not actually reach the destination. Both the donors and the NGOs know that there is corruption in the middle man. The government officials may have to take cuts out of the aid. So most of the time, whenever aid is disbursed, it is quickly withdrawn by the elites. Only a small portion. I cannot even go into numbers. Because even to this day, I see it in many cases as to how it never reaches the destination. So we have this case of misused funds, and it's known externally that most likely these funds will be diverted to their goals. And unfortunately, those funds have already been earmarked for that beneficiary and they are sent. Not all African countries or developing countries are corrupted, but in many ways, the funds are usually used for other means. And so the solutions will be a public ledger of a blockchain application where you can basically see how much was given, and then from each step of the milestones, disbursement can occur. You can have the beneficiaries themselves, villages, head of communities, churches. The beneficiaries sign on the disbursement schedule, and then the smart contract will release those funds. And then through a decentralized ledger, you can also audit the disbursement of those funds. That's one of the main applications. The broader concept of corruption is really, what can I say, hard to deal with. It's kind of it perpetuates itself. So basically, it's like, think of corruption like some kind of oil. When you touch it, you cannot easily wipe it out. It kind of penetrates in the very thin layers. It is basically something that even the institutions in charge of fighting corruptions end up themselves being corrupted. So it's something very hard to distinguish when it starts, very pervasive, and it is quite hard to combat. So when the government pledges, for example, to build a road, in the case in Eastern Congo, I know a territory which had already been provided budget allocation for a road. However, over the 5 years I've tracked that road building, it never happened. Every year the annual budget comes back with the same project. We'll finally build this road, is from Goma to Walikale. It never happens. Sometimes there's some $500, $1,000 out of millions that is given just for the sake of replenishing the project picture, but not more than that. They basically would assign some hundreds of dollars just to keep the page refreshed. However, it never gets dispersed, and that is some case where the blockchain could entrust the participants, and they will actually finish the project. And sometimes the donors are ready to give out the funds. So one portion could be, as it has been done in the city of Goma many times, through public and private collaboration. The government, local government, will go take a loan to the bank or get advances of their own funds, public funds, and then donors can disburse the funding upon reaching those milestones. Basically, the government lends itself, and then the donors pay as milestones are achieved. And that's doable, and many people can achieve it. The means, of course, the blockchain application. Some NGOs, in particular the UNHCR, are starting to apply blockchain applications, but most of the bigger donors are still quite into the phase of finding ways to track funding. Another blockchain application which is can be solved is the whole fundraising, entrepreneurship. An example would be the African stock exchanges. When you see the usage of a stock exchange, it's quite a very important tool in economic development. It is where basically entrepreneurs and liquidity meet, and then enterprises are built. However, there's a problem in developing countries because, first of all, capital is not readily available. The banks do not lend to individuals most of the time, they lend to larger companies, and those banks most of the time are also quite regulated because they're mostly foreign banks, so they're not ready to give out funding the way they would have done in their own home country. And again, those investment opportunities themselves are not publicly known. Usually it's a word to mouth business. You go in and you look for who is investing, who is building. You inquire who are they friends. You invest in the company, whether they're 50% achieved. You add a little funding, they build the place, you start exploiting it. Usually that's how it happens, but rarely do they get together to meet. So a blockchain solution will be in the same way, like a smart contract will basically allow all investors to pool funds, and then through the smart contract, they still have the ability to withdraw funds if the milestones are not achieved. For example, if we are raising a certain level of fund, and then everybody has committed a portion of it. If people are not able to deliver, then the people who committed can basically withdraw their funds before the deadlines or before the milestones. The same way for disbursement of the capital investments. The smart contract can allow for disbursement towards certain categories of locations, and then afterwards the managing team can take over the revenues. The capital, of course, the equipment in this case, can also be agreed to when it's going to be acquired, and then progressively acquired as the project evolves. I can give an example from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where there are not many banks in that country. Establishing a bank will take you around the 15 million. I've been solicited maybe 4 to 5 times to establish between a credit union, a bank, another financial institution type, which I still agree to do. I always accept to do it. So always hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars. I always promised, committed. Unfortunately, we never get to the threshold. It's always 60%, 50%, and then even it's only commitments. It's not even actually disbursement or any funds locked anywhere. There's mostly it's a lawyer who goes around with his little suitcase getting people to sign documents, but usually it kind of gets up and dies. So why am I not yet bringing the solution of the blockchain for the banking industry in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Because I'm building something else, and yeah, it's a solution that will come. Banking is important, not as important as corruption. Fighting corruption is a whole other topic. Economic entrepreneurs getting funding is also important, but so is also lending without the purpose of just enterprise, and also getting entrepreneurs. Common P2P lending. You have a crisis, you have an emergency. How do you solve it? How do you get your loan? So that's very important as well. And it's a subtopic of the whole fundraising, but this is just for the perspective of the loan. Why is the loan important? The loan is important because we not want to talk too much about the subject because it's quite complex as to why loans are important, but suffice to say that loans are how money gets distributed in the system. So you cannot get money without a loan somehow. So, which means you have to have a certain level of credibility. You have to have some capital, social capital. You have to be trustworthy. Trustworthy is you have to be known. You have to have some other credentials. Unfortunately, in countries where people don't even have identifications, don't have the deeds to their lands, establishing that is hard, so loans are not being disbursed, and that's why a P2P solution can help avoid that dilemma. So personal finance, the peer-to-peer lending is quite optimal in the sense that the borrowers need their loans, but they are facing high interest rates even when they do, and sometimes they are straight away pried on with high interest rates. And lenders, on the other hand, face a risk that they cannot quantify. So most of the time they expect default, even though in some small, like Grameen Bank, they've established that small borrowers actually do not default that much. But yeah, so yeah, in the average lend, the borrower will default. So a blockchain solution would be some kind of DeFi whereby you have some type of collateral which you still aim to keep, and then you can basically to a smart contract commit to put it as a collateral and then borrow. Why smart contracts? Smart contracts, remember, they do not have to face you as we see, so just a handshake between computer codes. There is no discrimination, there is no age. In Africa, age is quite a discriminating factor. Social connections, again, in Africa, for example, every outcomes is mostly based on who you know. So yeah, so again, people are vulnerable when they're not connected in the first place, which is like this cycle where you are poor because you were born poor. And lenders also can have an interest which is reliable. They will know that yes, this pool is algorithmically qualified to borrow. You can track the history. We have lent them money in the past. They're trustworthy. Let's give them some funds. And also with banks being so formalized, so regulated, and also so limited into how much they can lend, peer-to-peer in Africa is a solution. You can basically find people having the cash, the means to lend. However, they do not trust, and the whole personal dilemma is a question of trust. Smart contracts and the blockchain can overcome that issue, and you can find solutions where people are actually getting more financial freedom through access to lending. Those are the three examples I would have given for today. I'll be expanding on each one individually and showing some type of little codes as to how each one can work. Uh, and we can go through those examples as well in the future. I wish you a good day, and should you want to know more about the Go Stake Pool, please subscribe. I'll put some description in the description to put where you can find more information about the Go Stake Pool and also about Equival, which is a peer-to-peer exchange we are building on the Cardano smart contract. So thank you very much, and hopefully in the future we'll hear more from the Goma Stake Pool team, and more videos that you're used to seeing on this channel will be uploaded. But meanwhile, I'll be uploading weekly updates and try to share as much as I can, given that also myself I'm now more and more available to produce this kind of videos. Thank you very much, and enjoy the day. Bye.